The guy secretly used his homemade nail gun to shoot 2 expansion hooks into the bank wall. Then he pulled out a hydraulic jack and attached steel cables to both ends of the hooks. Once he fired up the jack, the stone wall just ripped open with a massive hole. The two of them moved to the vault's giant security door. They whipped out a drill and aimed it right at the lock cylinder. They had exactly 10 minutes to pull off this heist, because once that lock gets tampered with, cops would show up in 10 minutes flat. His partner grabbed some concentrated sulfuric acid and poured it straight into the keyhole. In just 10 seconds, the lock cylinder exploded. Then Cage used an endoscope to carefully examine the gear structure inside. One tiny mistake and that vault door would lock down permanently. After figuring out the exact angles inside the lock, Cage didn't hesitate and started turning the dial. Once all the gears clicked into their correct positions, the vault door swung open. Despite seeing all those gold bars inside, Cage went for the cash instead. Dollar for dollar, cash was worth way more at the same weight. Just when they thought they'd pulled it off, a whole SWAT team had the bank surrounded. Looking at the locked entrance, they just wrapped chains around the bank doors. The other end of the chains got hooked to an armored vehicle. They yanked the doors open by revving up the truck, but when they stormed inside, there wasn't a soul in sight. Cage and his buddy had already slipped out the back, but there was this homeless old guy hanging around outside. To keep the old man from reporting their faces, his partner was ready to kill him. Cage wasn't having any of that though. Right at that moment, their getaway driver showed up. Cage dragged his partner toward the car. Then Cage ran back because they'd left the stolen money by the back door. But the cops were already closing in. His so-called friend just drove off without them. While Cage was chasing after his friend's car, the arriving cops cut him off. Cage straight up jacked a police cruiser to make his escape, but the cops behind him forced him into a parking garage. The exit had roadblocks set up everywhere. He had no choice but to ram right through. When the tire spikes shredded his tires, the out-of-control car crashed into a factory. But Cage just walked out and turned himself in. When SWAT finally grabbed Cage, they found his money bag was completely